So this is a time of year when a lot of people make their charitable giving, sit down, write some checks out. Maybe it's the church or charity or whatever the case may be. And certainly a lot of people do that. The concept, though, that we want to talk about with our listening audience today is to maybe have some intentionality to that. Charitable giving, or philanthropy as it's known in fancier circles, is really much more than just giving. There's really some powerful tools that can come into play when it comes to just overall financial planning, family wealth management, family unity, creating a lasting legacy. So in this segment, given the time of year, we thought it would be important to kind of have this conversation with y'all. And unfortunately, we see more and more where there's not really a lot of people in the financial business that sort of talk a lot about this. Not to be jaded, but I've been doing it a long time, so I guess I'm entitled to be a little jaded. Some of that is because if your client is charitable minded and starts giving away a bunch of money, then you, as the finance person, you're going to have less money to manage. And if you're charging based on how much you're managing, then what's the incentive to do that? But hey, you know what? I'm jaded, so don't listen to me. But maybe there's a correlation, because this isn't a conversation that comes up often. The reality is, though, that charitable giving in the U.S. topped nearly $600 billion over the course of the past year. 94% of wealthy Americans are philanthropically active in some capacity, with the average gift coming out at about $43,000 annually. Certainly proof that a lot of families have charitable giving as a primary priority. And the reality is that far too often, charitable giving and philanthropy as a whole is treated as sort of a little bit of an afterthought. And the reality is that the financial services industry really should be focusing on this as a bigger issue, particularly to help people really integrate more when it comes to talking about investments and taxes and estate planning. Charitable planning is a big part of kind of how all three of those can really work together, because charitable planning can obviously reduce taxes. It can strengthen family bonds and even prepare the next generation for sort of leadership to the extent that you're having these broader conversations. And so ignoring it can really, I think, lead to a mischance for you as the individual to achieve sort of broader financial goals than just, I want to retire and, all those kinds of things. So, some of the benefits that come from sort of being strategic in terms of the planning is that you're able to sort of align your charitable goals with your investment strategies. Okay, maybe you've got a portion of the portfolio that you're kind of earmarking for charitable giving. That gives you some opportunities to really think about, okay, well then does this investment strategy need to be the same as the investment strategy that I'm using on this account over here that's generating out for me my monthly retirement income? Similarly, as we know, charitable giving, you get to write off those charitable deductions. You've got to itemize. Next year, there's a new above-the-line deduction that will come into play with charity. But the reality is that if you're giving significant charitable gifts, you should be itemizing anyway to get the full benefit of that. And when you do that, then you've got the capability of minimizing estate taxes as well. Now, obviously, the estate tax exemption is super high, but to the extent that there's changes on that over the years ahead, then I think charitable giving and charitable planning is going to become a bigger part of kind of how to deal with changing estate tax rates. In terms of when you're starting to kind of have these conversations, it also gives you an opportunity to talk to the next generation or the next generation to kind of talk about values and what's important to you as a family unit, the types of causes that you think are important, and ultimately to kind of help impart some of those values and that wisdom across the generation. And by engaging in a conversation about money and charitable giving, it helps to increase the likelihood that you're able to then, sort of teach some family values, particularly if you have other generations involved in the decision-making process of what that looks like from a responsibility point of view, and understand the empathy that comes when you're looking at charitable giving. So I think there's a lot of, beyond just kind of the tax and the estate planning side of things, that the value that can come from this, along with the fact that chances are the organization you're giving money to needs the money to help promote whatever the cause is. There's also a lot of family legacy and values and teaching moments that if you will, that apply to the next generation. So I think the bottom line is to really think about philanthropy, charitable giving as so much more than just simply writing a check, and to really create a more integrated strategy, if you will. So how do you get started on all of this? And we've got a few kind of action steps, kind of takeaways here. First, it starts with sort of defining your charitable mission. Like, what causes matter most to you? What's important to you? Where do you want to see this money be put to use, and what causes or opportunities? And then there's a host of different ways in which you can kind of give gifts beyond just, I'm just going to write a check and that's it. There's donor advised funds, there's private foundations, there's charitable trusts. All of those have obviously pros and cons, just like any type of an investment strategy does, but they definitely expand out the opportunity to give some charitable giving. We're big fans of charitable giving, particularly in years where there's a big spike in income. Typically, if you are selling your business and there's a big spike in income, we often talk to people about maybe doing a donor advised fund, where you make all of the contribution this year, you get all of the tax benefit this year, but then you don't have to decide exactly which charities all get it in that current year. You can leave the money sitting inside that donor advised fund to be used and distributed out later on. So a pretty powerful vehicle, and each one of these kind of has different and unique aspects to it. Obviously, charitable giving, philanthropic giving, a big part of estate and tax planning. And then this notion of sort of scheduling a family meeting to talk about the goals and responsibilities and bring in sort of those next generations to kind of have these broader conversations. And then make sure that from a financial point of view that there is that holistic planning, that holistic plan of action when it comes to combining these financial your financial and charitable goals as well. That's certainly very key to sort of making it all work. And to just sort of broaden the thought process. Philanthropy isn't just about generosity. It's about creating impact and building family unity and achieving financial efficiency. And so it's so important to kind of weave that charitable planning into your financial strategy to make sure that the difference that you're looking to make could potentially last for generations. So we encourage you to think about that, particularly during the course of this time of year. And as we kind of wrap up this week's program, certainly talked about a number of different topics, from IRMA to costly 401k mistakes that people make when they're rolling over to philanthropy. And I think bottom line, there's some key takeaways that are sort of common among all these issues. First of all, you got to stay informed of what the rules are, what the implications are. That's crucially important on any financial decision. Number two, sort of document stuff, right? I mean, if you're going to make a charitable gift, then you need to have documentation. If you're going to challenge an IRMA decision, then you want to have information to be able to appeal that. Make sure it's well integrated, your planning as a whole. It's not just investment planning or retirement planning. Think about your estate, your tax strategy, your philanthropic planning, and then make sure you're communicating that with family members and in particular using expert advice and guidance, because that's a big part of it. These are some complicated issues that we've been talking about on this week's program. So we encourage you to kind of think through all of that during this particular season of giving. Speaking of giving, don't forget our companion workbook to our book, Next Gen Dollars and Cents, is available this holiday season for free simply by calling the office at 407-629-6477 or visiting our website at Nelson financial planning. So make sure you take us up on our free gift offer to you to help you improve your overall financial picture. With that, we're going to wrap it on up and get on out of here. This has been Joel Garris of Nelson Financial Planning on Dollars and Cents.